Bookie. This is my first ever book review. I'm very excited to share with you The Ickabog by J.K. Rowling. A little bit of background on this book. She wrote this in between Harry Potter books, but it was never finished or published until the shutdown of March 2020, where she published it online for people to enjoy while in quarantine. And she also said in the foreword of her book that it was one of the most rewarding experiences of her writing life was finishing and publishing this book. The Ickabog takes place in the country of Cornucopia, which is ruled by King Fred the Fearless. He's very vain. He cares a lot about what people think of him. And in this country of Cornucopia, the Ickabog is kind of like the boogeyman. It's like an imaginary threat to children. Like parents will say, eat your vegetables, or the Ickabog will come get you. And it's used as like a drinking song. When King Fred finds out that the Ickabog could possibly be real and it's threatening his kingdom, he takes it on himself to go hunt down the Ickabog, because remember, he cares a lot about what people think, so he wants to actually be fearless. So he takes his two trusted advisors and the royal guard, and they go up to the marshlands to hunt the Ickabog. During a time of panic and confusion in the foggy marshland, on the quest to hunt down the Ickabog, a member of the royal guard is shot dead by Lord Flapoon, one of the trusted advisors. And Lord Flapoon and Lord Spittleworth decide that they're going to cover up this murderous mistake by blaming it on the Ickabog. And throughout the story, they are just continuously digging themselves into a hole of dishonesty, and they just have to keep covering it up and making people think that the Ickabog is real, and they get into a pretty deep lie. My favorite thing about the Ickabog is just how descriptive it is. It feels like watching a movie in your mind about what's happening, and each town in Cornucopia is famous for a different type of food. So they have wine, they have cheese, they have meats, and pastries, and the descriptions of these like literally had me salivating because it's just so amazing. So here is a description of some of the towns in Cornucopia that I really like. To the north of Shoeville lay more green fields and clear sparkling rivers, where jet black cows and happy pink pigs were raised. These in turn served the twin cities of Kurtzburg and Baronstown, which were separated from each other by an arching stone bridge over the main river of Cornucopia, the Fluma, where brightly colored barges bore goods from one end of the kingdom to another. Kurtzburg was famous for its cheeses: huge white wheels, dense orange cannonballs, big crumbly blue-veined barrels, and little baby cream cheeses smoother than velvet. Baronstown was celebrated for its smoked and honey-roasted hams, its sides of bacon, its spicy sausages, its melting beefsteaks, and its venison pies. The savory fumes rising from the chimneys of the red-brick Baronstown stoves mingled with the odorous tang wafting from the doorways of the Kurtzburg cheesemongers, and for 40 miles all around it was impossible not to salivate breathing in the delicious air. Another thing that I love about this book is that the illustrations are done by children. So when J.K. Rowling published this online, she made it an art contest for kids all over the world could submit their illustrations of the Ickabog. So I'll just show you some of my favorites that are in here. This first one is Daisy, who is one of the main characters of the book, and it's beautiful. That was done by a 12-year-old. And then this one, I couldn't pass up. This is Kurtzburg, a town in Kurtzburg, the cheese town. I love cheese, so had to share that. And then last but not least is a depiction of the Ickabog. This is done by a 10-year-old. It's incredible. It's amazing to see what these kids came up with and how they interpreted this book and how they saw it in their imagination. Another thing I loved about this book is that there are so many strong-willed female characters. They're so brave and honest and kind, and it's really fun to read. So overall, I gave this book 5 stars. I will read it again. I actually listened to the audiobook after I read the book because I was just curious. The audiobook is narrated by Stephen Fry, who is the narrator for the Harry Potter books in the United Kingdom. So listening to the audiobook was like kind of how I imagined listening to like an old time radio show, just with the description and the voices and the characters. It was really exciting to listen to as well. As a teacher, under normal circumstances, I would read this book to my class. But now, as we're in the middle of a pandemic, I'm trying to keep things kind of lighter and happy because kids in general are just dealing with so much right now. This book has a lot of like death and destruction and poverty in it, so I probably wouldn't read it right now because it kind of takes a long time for the happy ending to come, and there's a lot of sadness until then. I would recommend this book for probably grades 3 to 6. I think it could be really fun to read eventually and do like an art project to illustrate the book and do like a character study and things like that. Overall, I highly recommend this book. Once I started reading it, I could not put it down. And I listened to the audiobook as soon as I had finished reading. So I read it twice in a row. It's amazing. It has so many good themes of friendship and kindness and bravery and honesty, and it's amazing. If you are a fan of J.K. Rowling or Harry Potter, this is a must read. And even if you're not, I highly recommend it. It's a standalone book. You don't need to read Harry Potter to understand this, so check it out, and thank you so much for watching. Lord Flapoon, and